welcome to This Sustainable Life Untethered, the place where we explore mind, body, and nature and the things that hold you back from enjoying them. I am your host, Alison, and today it's time for a solo episode. So you might remember at the end of 2020, I did a little bit of a my year in review where I walked you through some of the highs and lows of 2020 in a what I thought was fun snakes and ladders style game. Snakes and ladders come Monopoly style game. That was it. And towards the end of that, I said that I would come back after I'd reflected on what I wanted my goals for 2021 to be. And I also said that I was feeling a little bit like I already have so much, having reflected on this year, 2020, and that it felt a bit uncomfortable for me to be asking for more when other people might not have been so lucky or had more of a difficult, trying year. So interestingly, I listened to a podcast with Brene Brown, and she talked about with Abby Wambach, I don't know how you pronounce her name, and she talked about this notion of particularly women feeling gratitude and grateful and like, oh, thank you for this, and then not wanting more. Like she's saying, don't just be grateful and ambitious, be grateful and persistent, be grateful and daring. Don't just be like, oh, thank you for this, and I'll not have any more, I'll not bother you, thanks very much. So I kind of see where she's coming from, because that was exactly how I was feeling, and it made me uncomfortable to want to ask more. So I kind of come up with a bit of a interim solution, I guess. And it's in the way, instead of setting goals for the year, I'm going to be talking about the things that underpin the goal achievement, which is the habits and behaviors. So before the end of the year, back in December, it just so happened that my fellow This Sustainable Life podcast hosts, and for those of you who don't know, we are an emerging family, growing our uniqueness and confidence under the wing of our daddy bird. I don't know, daddy bird Joshua Spodek. We're all kind of doing an offshoot of his podcast, which is This Sustainable Life. Anyway, we agreed to do a 5-minute daily challenge, and the purpose was to develop discipline. It was to be, fun, and also a good excuse to do things that we wanted to do but weren't doing. And lots of people decided to do, things that they were interested in. Some people did singing, some people did exercise, and I chose to do 5 minutes of a dance instructional on YouTube. And every day for 5 minutes, that was the intent, and we all tracked it on a spreadsheet. And I found it really helpful to set a goal that was so small, a daily goal basically that was really small to achieve, because the actual the success, the barrier to hit success was so low. 5 minutes, I felt like I was able to do it pretty consistently. And even though I didn't manage to do it every day for the full 30 days as the challenge was, I definitely did it more days than I didn't. And I definitely did it more days than ever before in my life, considering that wanting to improve my dancing skill, wanting to improve my body posture, elegance, discipline is a goal of mine. So I thought it might be helpful to take this same principle of doing these small daily habits and expand upon it. So rather than set the goal, which is, I don't know, it might be, for example, if I wanted to improve my dancing, to say to dance in front of an audience by whatever, which would be like an outcome, something to work towards. Actually, it would be the daily habit of practice dancing for 5 minutes a day, a minimum of 5 minutes. So I could always do more if I wanted to, but the minimum was for 5 minutes, because you always have 5 minutes a day, and it's about developing that discipline and overcoming that inertia, which is one of the hardest things to do when working on your goals. So I developed a few more daily habits in different areas that I want to grow in. And I have now been doing it since the beginning of January. And I found an app that lets you put in your habits and basically set your criteria, your parameters for success. Do you have to do it every day? Do you have to do it 3 times a week? Whatever. And then you can tick it off if you've done it or not if you haven't. And it tracks your streaks, it tracks your performance. And it's a helpful visual reminder, basically, because what I do is I look at it, and if I have not done something for a good few days in a row, I basically have the conversation with myself. Alison, what's going on here? You said this was important to you. You said that you wanted to develop in this area, and you have 5 minutes a day. Trust me, you piss away 5 minutes on whatever nonsense you do, which wastes time. So why aren't you doing 5 minutes to improve your cardio or whatever it is? And often there's an emotional reason underlying it. And it tends to be anxiety, fear of failure, fear of looking stupid, sometimes not wanting to get uncomfortable, like if it's an exercise one, not wanting to get sweaty, not wanting to change out of my clothes into something. Although I have to say, basically since lockdown, I'm essentially living in jogging bottoms and leggings, which is brilliant because it means you can just do exercise at any point and there's no barrier to it. But whatever it is, whatever the reason is that's underlying me not doing it, I have 5 minutes. It's only 5 minutes. So the antidote to that is just effing do it. And since I have been tracking, and since the beginning of January, it's now the 24th, I have done more exercise, more stretching, more reading, more learning Spanish, more dancing, more meditation, more getting to bed earlier, more tracking of my finances, and more exploring different genres of music before I started tracking, basically. All of those things I've wanted to do. And since I've started tracking and setting this 5-minute daily habit, I have been doing them so much more than ever before. Interestingly, there are a few habits that I persistently struggle with, particularly around pole practice and writing. But I use my strategy of looking at my streaks and saying, Alison, I've not done this now for a few days. Is it really important to you? And if it's not important, then take it off the list. But if it is, do something about it, because otherwise you're just lying to yourself and you're just being lazy and scared. I've also set a few habits related to relationships, and I'll spare you the gory details, but actually I think that this is a quite important area, and it always benefits from additional time, love and attention. With regards to your partner, your family, your friends. And I often think about things that I want and want to achieve, and it's not as second nature or as habitual to think about, how do I want to show up for another person? How do I want to make them feel? So it's nice for me to reflect back on some of the habits that might be underlying other people enjoying me and feeling my love and attention more. And also I've set a few habits related to giving back. So again, in the episode where I was recapping my 2020, I talked about how can I give more? How can I give thanks? I am grateful, but I also want to do something about it. So it's quite a difficult one to do, but I've essentially picked some ones where I don't regularly donate to a charity at the moment. So that might be a one-off thing where I do a bit of research and pick a charity and set up a donation to them. And I've also set up a giving back one around leaving reviews for podcasts or other areas where people have put their time into developing something, creating something, and it's really helped me and, you know, changed my life, because what I'm doing is, well, I'm trying to do the same for you. And I suppose if I want people to give me reviews about this podcast, then I have to be willing to do the same. And I just don't. So I feel like regardless of getting anything back in return, or, you know, the karma of me doing something to get something back, it's important for me to give back and say thanks to those people in ways that are helpful and meaningful to them. So to summarize then, I've basically, rather than set some goals, set some habits, daily habits related to a healthy body, a healthy mind, healthy relationships, my own financial well-being, some skills development and creativity, some fun. I've set some fun ones, and giving back. And it sounds like it's a lot of things to do, and it takes a lot of time, and it's really effortful. And I could imagine people saying like, oh, it feels like it's an industry essentially just to keep on track of all of this. But let me tell you, it is not effortful at all. And I've said that I've wanted to do all these things. So I want to spend my time doing them. I've just not been doing them. So to then be criticizing myself and saying, well, it takes time to do them. I want to do them, and to do them, I have to put in the time. I'm just holding myself more accountable now. Plus, you can also combine two things at once. So sometimes I can stretch and read, or listen to a new piece of music and, you know, do something else. So it's not like everything takes its own unique 5 minutes in your day. You can combine the two. And I've also found that there's often many periods in your day, kind of like betweeny periods, particularly because I'm working from home, where things finish and you might have a few spare minutes before your next meeting, for example. And it's the perfect opportunity to just squeeze in a little 5-minute practice, whatever it is I'm doing, what helps me to get up from my chair and take a break. And I might just do a little dance instructional and then get right back to work. So there is plenty of time. I don't just have to have an hour where I schedule everything in 5 minutes, one after the other. I do it in a way that makes sense to me and is good for my routine, and adds more to my day, more interest and more intrigue. And it's, like I said, it's a minimum of 5 minutes, so I can always do more. And the 5-minute thing is also really helpful for those days where I just can't be bothered. And there have been a few with lockdown where I've been feeling real, what I would describe as ennui. Just been like, what's the point? And when you reduce your success criteria to just 5 minutes, it helps with getting over that inertia and building up momentum, particularly for workouts, for example. Like, I can get down on the floor, put on a YouTube video for 5 minutes, and I know I will feel better if I do. And if all I can do is that 5 minutes in this otherwise completely meh day where I feel so blah and just horrible and gross and uncertain and anxious and bored and sad and all of that, if I can just do 5 minutes of something that I said I wanted to do and keep my promise to myself, then that makes me feel amazing. And I am lazy sometimes, and sometimes I just go, do you know what? Sod it. I'm just going to watch 6 hours of The Bay non-stop straight, right? I totally just binge watched this new series on ITV. Like, I really binge watched it in one evening. It was disgusting. And I was lazy, and I admitted to myself. But the thing is, I am not lazy many days in a row because of my tracking, because of the habits. And that's the real big difference. that I've found. So yeah, I would suggest that if it's something that interests you, if you're not been, I want to say brave enough, but it is brave. Setting goals is brave. And if you don't feel like you're in a place to set some goals, just try out a few daily habits. You don't have to do as many as I have. I've gone really into it because I found that it's something that's helpful to me. And if you can do, record it on a way that's like fun for you, whether that's a spreadsheet or an app or, you know, whatever makes it fun, on a sticker chart, I don't know, gamify it. Because as the management guru Peter Drucker said, what gets measured gets improved. And it's so true. I think without measuring it, your own progress, you lie to yourself, don't you? You don't really have a good memory of what you've done, where you are, and it's easy to just be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh no, I did it yesterday. And that's not necessarily true or accurate. And it's really hard to look at a record of your own performance, accurate performance, and not do something about it if it's something that you say that is important and meaningful to you. And I also think that really habits are what our lives are. It is our behavior, our bodies, our minds are an accumulation of habits that we've done at one time in the past that we then bring with us into the present. My body is a record of all the habits that I've made, all the decisions around what to eat, what to exercise, and it all accumulates now to bring me to how I look. And in the same way that the habits accumulate with your body, it can accumulate with learning a language. It can accumulate with developing your skills at writing, developing your skills at singing, developing whatever you are interested in, whatever is important to you, is made up of a long time accumulation of many small instances of behavior. And I've just got one more quote that I'm going to share with you that I really like. That's from F.M. Alexander. I have no idea who she is, but I saw it on Instagram. And it goes, people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. And I think that is really powerful because yes, there is an element of, you know, luck, randomness, whatever in your future, but also the thing that we can control now, the thing that's up to us, our behavior, our habits, our decisions is so empowering for helping us create the life that we want and helping us to be the people that we want to be. Okay, well, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I'd love for you to let me know. How did you find this episode? Is this something that you might be interested in? Are you going to try any habits and track them? Come say hello to me. I am on Instagram at alison.untethered, Twitter at Ali Untethered, and Facebook at This Sustainable Life Untethered. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this episode. And if you want to leave me a review, if this podcast is helpful, interesting to you, and you feel like you want to give back, then that's great. But no worries if not, because yeah, I didn't do that for a really long time. But 2021, I'm leaving reviews. So thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you next time.